Welcome to Observing Technology, presented by the Capital PC User Group. My name is Dennis Courtney, and I'll be your guide while we look at today's interesting technology trends. Today's show will feature two segments designed to help you wade through some of the personal computer and technology issues you might be facing at home. In an exciting segment, we'll help you spruce up some of those old photos that you may have lying around. There are a number of software packages, from inexpensive ones, less than $100, such as Paint Shop Pro, Adobe Photoshop Elements, and Corel Paint, to the professional editing packages such as Adobe Photoshop for around $700. No matter which package you use, many of the basic techniques and results that you'll see here today will be the same. Noreen Clemenzi, one of our CPCUG members, will demonstrate how to do some photo retouching using Corel Paint package. You can then apply these techniques to whatever software package that you're using. Our second segment will be on wireless communication between computers, printers, and other digital devices. That's become very affordable and effective. So in this segment, we're going to feature our resident hardware guru, Matt Armstrong, from the Computer Place in Gaithersburg, who will show us what to look for in the wireless router or print server market. So sit back and enjoy this episode of Observing Technology. First up, it's my pleasure to welcome Noreen Clemenzi. Welcome, Noreen. She's an expert in photo retouching and a member of the Capital PC User Group. Mm-hmm. Well, first let me ask you, how do I, if I've got an old photograph, how exactly do I get that into the computer?
There are a lot of ways. You can scan them. You can use a digital camera.
A digital camera? How would I use a digital camera to bring an old photo in?
You take a picture and plug it into your computer and just import it into the computer. But you need to have a camera that's 3 megapixel or higher.
So you need a 3 megapixel or higher, and you take a photograph of the old photograph.
Yeah.
Does it require a lot of light or any special techniques?
You really need to have a tripod, and you also need to have surrounding light. And I have some pictures here of situations where this one I took a picture with a Kodak digital camera, and I had the flash on.
Okay, so you had the flash on. Now, who is this fellow?
Well, this is a relative in the family.
Okay. So this is like for people who like to do genealogy and stuff? Is that how you got into it?
Oh, yes. Yeah. We're trying to find out what our ancestors look like. So we got into doing that.
The old family photos. Now, this photo here clearly needs some retouching. What about, when you talk about the digital camera, how do we then get into the resolution? Does that make a difference? Some of these photos, that's not really black and white. That's kind of a sepia tone almost.
Well, actually, this photo is really an RGB photo. Whenever you take a picture or scan, they come into your program as an RGB.
What's an RGB?
Red, green, and blue. It's a
okay.
Your monitor operates on an RGB.
Okay. And
it's a color scheme. I'm sorry.
Okay. What kind of resolution and whatnot? What's best? Does it matter what kind of resolution that you have?
I tend to pick the highest resolution I can do.
Okay. For the photo scanning or
For the photo scanning, I will do 1200.
1200?
DPI in terms of scanner, it's really pixels per inch.
Okay, pixels per inch. Okay. Does it matter, really?
Yes, it does. It matters. It does matter a lot because you can always downsample a photo, but you cannot upsample it.
Upsampling it or downsampling means upsampling it would be putting more DPIs, more dots per inch.
Right. Let's say you scan it in at 200 and then you decided you want it at 600, so you increase it. It doesn't work.
Okay.
So you really want to scan as high resolution as you can. And if you have to downsample, you can. The problem, your limiting factor will be your computer.
Okay.
My experience with putting in a 1200 DPI photo, I get file sizes of 20 megabyte and up, often 95 megabyte.
So you really need to have a little bit of extra space on your hard drive
if
you're going to be doing this sort of thing. Is it that way for all pictures, or does it depend on whether it's color or black and white or any of that sort of thing?
Grayscale is a lot smaller in size. It's an 8.
Now you brought a graph to show us on that, didn't you?
That's what this graph is for. It's demonstrating basically as you get higher in file size, it goes up quite a bit. The CMYK is a larger file size because you have 4 colors. The RGB is 3 colors, which is your monitor, your TVs. CMYK is a print media, your printer. If you go to a professional printer, they use CMYK. But they're larger files because you have four.
4 colors.
4 colors, whereas the RGB is 3 colors and the grayscale is 1.
Okay.
So it doesn't go up as high as fast. But you have to be aware of this, that your file sizes will get large, and you need the RAM. You need basically 5 times the size of the file for your RAM.
Okay, because your RAM is your memory that it holds it in.
This is your short-term memory. I have basically 1 gigabyte on this computer.
Okay.
So I can handle a lot of files. But if you have like 250, you're going to be very limited in what you do.
Okay. Does a monitor matter on this?
You should have a 17-inch or larger monitor.
Okay, because you're really going to be doing some fine work on some of these photos, correct?
Correct. And you probably have more than one screen open, so you have to have the real estate.
Okay, so we've talked about the color modes. We've talked about the file sizes and things. What about some of the photo editing software? Does it really matter if I get the really expensive stuff like Adobe Photoshop for $700?
I use Corel Photo Paint, and I find it very comparable to Photoshop. Okay. Many of the same features that Photoshop has, and I use both. I use Photoshop and Corel Photo Paint.
And the Corel costs about how much?
The version 11, you get Corel Draw as well as Photo Paint, and it's $250. Whereas $650 and hop, whatever it is for Photoshop. Yeah. It's very expensive.
Very expensive, but it's more of a commercial package as opposed to a home package. And since this show is guided for home technologists, that's the kind of we'd want to stick in that range. And of course, there's other products that do it very similarly. We talked about Paint Shop Pro in the past, Adobe Photoshop Elements, which is sort of the scaled down version. Both of those packages are about $100. So for about $100, the home user, as long as they've got a big enough monitor and a fast enough computer with enough memory, could really do this sort of thing.
Absolutely, you have to have that.
Okay.
You have to have the computer and the monitor.
All right, let's take a look at a couple of images and see what we can do with them.
Okay, well these are a couple of images.
Oh, my Lord.
Well, no, this is demonstrating that you have to have a tripod with a digital camera. If you move it slightly, you just forget it. You can't do anything with it.
So, okay, this was taking a photo of a photo,
That's
but without a tripod.
Without a tripod, it was trying to steady hand, and it doesn't work.
Doesn't work. That's a good example of that.
This is just some pictures. This is a before and after, and the reason why I picked this one was because it was a very faded picture. And Photo Paint has some really, really nice tools for increasing this, and the one I really, let's see. What this is, and it shouldn't be doing this auto adjust, but at any rate, it's a histogram, and it's showing the tonal range in the photograph. Because this one is so faded out, you can see that most of the pixel information is in the higher end, the lighter end.
Okay, yes.
And one of the ways to increase the contrast is to change the black and the white. And there's 2 ways. Well, there's several ways you can do it. One is to move this over.
Okay, and that actually changes the photograph as the...
Yes. It increases the tonal range so that you have more blacks and grayscale and the lighter color.
Very good.
I like that. You can do the auto adjust, but I myself prefer
doing it manually.
Manually, because then I can fine tune it and I can change it, and I can use this to set the black and use this to set the white, and the gamma will basically move it around so it's centered. Your midtones and your black and whites are centered.
So you can really adjust this to whatever's pleasing to your eye.
That's correct.
Okay, great.
So that's one of the biggest advantages to that. And as you can see, the photo is a lot clearer now. It's a lot brighter. You can see it better. The other photos, this was another family photo, and it was an old photo that was on the wall, and I had taken it down. And this one I scanned in, and it had a glass in front of it, unfortunately, so I got some reflection and glare.
Okay,
I had to use the clone tool to get rid of this.
The clone tool, that's interesting. Yeah. What does a clone tool do?
Oh, it's wonderful. It's fabulous. I love it.
Okay, well, let's see.
Okay, the clone tool is basically, it has 2 paintbrushes, and Photoshop has the same thing.
And what you're doing here is you're marking off an area of the picture. Now, in this case, it's quite large. But you're going to shrink that down of what you're going to clone. Yeah.
I can do it here also.
Okay, so the brush gets a lot smaller. And what you do then is essentially copy and paste little parts of it to fill in where the picture is bad.
I right-click to
Okay.
what the area I want to copy.
Okay.
And then
So you're getting rid of some of the imperfections there by copying one piece of the photograph over another.
right.
Okay.
And this one I'm using a custom clone with a fuzzy edge because
Okay, soft edge.
if you have a hard edge, it looks bad.
Okay.
It blends it in some.
All right. I can see that.
And basically you saw the result of that one.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Then another one, this one took a lot of time to do.
Okay. And wow, with particularly using the clone tool and some of these things, I can see now why you want the bigger monitor.
Yeah, you want the bigger monitor, and it does take time. It's tedious work, and you have to really. But this one has a lot of dust in it.
Yes,
and
a lot of little flecks and scratches and things. Yeah.
And one of the quickest ways to get rid of it is this is a lasso tool.
Okay.
And I'm going to go in and I'm going to do a dust correction.
So it's got that automatically in there
This
to
is automatic.
get rid of that.
And yeah, I could also do it manually, but I chose to do this automatic. And I can change, what it's doing is it's keeping the light pixel and the white ones, blending them together.
Okay.
And this is the radius of saying that how far I want to go, and I want to keep it really small.
Okay. Oh,
It takes it out automatically.
Wow, it has really cleaned up that photograph quite a lot.
And then I can just remove the mask. And then what I would do now would be go into the individual photograph. Say her face has a blemish on it.
Yeah, sure.
I will go in and use the clone tool and fix it up, and the blending tool. And
you'll pick an area of skin from some other spot on her face and kind of fill that in, correct?
Right.
Okay.
And then I'll blend it in, because you notice her face is a little pixelated.
Yeah.
So it
Okay.
needs to be blended in.
Okay. What else have we got to take a look at? So this is damage on a photo that you've worked on, and we've worked on some tonal and exposure adjustments.
Right.
Correct. Okay.
And there's the clone, and there's exposure. This one I had to change the exposure a little bit.
Wow, fabulous.
It was sepia looking, and
right. You
really
took
was
all the brown tones.
Right.
There was a lot in the upper left corner, a lot of damage in the photo.
That was a clone tool. I used that to get it
Okay.
out, take it out.
Now, I notice you're doing these in TIFF. Most people would use JPEGs or something else, but a TIFF is not compressed, correct?
Correct. A JPEG is compressed, and
so
it doesn't have the same amount of information. You definitely want to use TIFF.
Okay.
Scan into TIFF, use it.
All right, very good. Very good. Okay, now who's this?
This is another relative. This is on my husband's side of the family. But this one I had to, okay. One of the real quickies you can do is you can do a desaturate, which will change, get rid of a lot of the yellow colors and make it more of a grayscale.
So you've taken all of the sepia tone stuff out of there already.
Right.
Okay,
right.
and then
that's just a real quickie.
And then you're going through and you're going to do several processes. One of them is to take the sepia tone out. Then you're going to go through and despeckle it from remove the dust.
Correct.
Then you're going to take a look at some of the stuff that is damaged in the photo and use the clone tool there. Okay.
Yes.
So great. Any suggestions that you could to give to our people beyond what we've already shown them, to our viewers?
Well, if you don't have a camera and you have some old photos, it's best to take them to a professional Photoshop or photo place and have them scan it in, because they have the better scanners.
All right, Naireen, now thanks for what the demonstration that you give us. Where can our viewers get in touch with you if they'd like to get more information about cleaning up old photographs?
I have a website. You can get me at the website www.clemenzi.org/photos.
Okay, and you have an email, clemenzi@cpcug.org as well.
Yes.
Okay, great. After this short break, we have another exciting guest on the technology that you wish you had.
Imagination. It may be the most precious of natural resources. To a child, playtime is a rehearsal for the real life they will one day inherit from us. Love that part of your child that longs to daydream. Don't underestimate the power of play.
Wireless technology is today's hot item. Frequently on this show, we have a hardware guru from the computer place in Gaithersburg. And today we've got Matt Armstrong here with some really interesting pieces of technology that we can take a look at for both our wired and wireless stuff for the home. So what have you got for us today, Matt?
Well, just like you said, we've brought some of the wireless and wired networking technology to show you today. To start with, we have a wired router.
A wired router. This is a cable DSL router, correct? This is something that you hook in if you get high-speed internet access, your
Right.
cable modem, your DSL modem that you get from your local supplier?
Exactly. You would hook up the cable or DSL modem to this router, and that would actually split up your internet connection to up to 253 connections, actually.
253 at the same time, although this one only handles four
It only has
in the wire,
four right
correct?
now. That's right.
If you want to go with more than that, you need to buy a bigger switch, in other words, more ports,
Attach a
or go
switch to
something like wireless, which we'll talk about in a second. Now, this is a router.
Right.
What exactly is a router?
That takes the incoming IP address from your service provider and breaks it up to multiples. A standard hub would not actually do that.
So if you just had a hub, one of those little $25 things that sort of redirects it, but it doesn't really give it its own specific address locally.
Right.
You need a specific address, correct?
Right. One of the things that the routers have that regular hubs don't is NAT technology, which is network address translation. And
Okay.
that takes the computers behind the router over here, gives it a separate IP number going out to the internet, and that prevents other people from seeing your true IP address.
So it sort of masks you inside. Is that a firewall type technology?
Yeah, that's kind of a blanket term. Firewall technology. There's also SPI, Stateful Packet Inspection. This one only has a NAT, which is
a translator.
yes, and in itself a pretty decent firewall.
Okay, so actually I have something like this at home, and I use it as my, quote, firewall.
Right.
I have the wireless model at home, wired/wireless, it does both, and it actually works as a pretty good firewall. No one's ever gotten into my home computer, if you will. So it's worked very well as a firewall for me. Now, you can certainly add another firewall to that if people are really interested in really protecting it. You could add
Sure.
a software firewall as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, this particular one right here comes with the Norton Internet Security Suite, which has a software firewall as well.
Oh, great. So this is not only the NAT translator, which hides you, but it's also got some firewall software in it
Yes,
as well.
exactly.
Great. Okay.
Right.
Now, that was great when I was just hooking up computers in now. But then I bought one of these really fancy laser printers and color printers and stuff, and I couldn't plug my printer into this. So I guess I wasn't the only person who ever had that problem, because
No, absolutely not. Right.
it came out with
The print server.
servers.
Exactly.
Now, how do these work?
This is a 4-port, it's a wired print server.
Okay.
So you do need to have a physical cable going from a router or that hub to this print server right here. This particular one accepts a USB printer. So all
Not
you
your
have,
standard parallel cable, but a USB printer cable.
yeah, exactly. So hopefully your fancy dancy laser printer was USB.
Yes, it was.
Now, if it is, you can share that printer between all the family members.
Okay.
So you can put that in a common location if you like. Just have to be able to hook up a cable from the router to this print server, run the software that comes in the box, and everyone has access
Okay.
to the laser printer.
Are you familiar? I'm going to throw you a curveball here. Is there any kind of distance limitation that you can put between your router and your print server devices?
About 300 feet, actually.
Okay, my house
The hard
isn't
part
that
is
big.
actually wiring it.
Okay, all right. How much does the DSL router cost? Not wireless, but this is wired.
About $60.
About $60. And how about a print server?
That's about $70.
Okay, so for less than $150, you could have a network inside your home, all accessing your high-speed internet connection,
Yeah,
and
right.
up to 4 printers that you could share among all
One
of
printer.
those.
One printer just happens to have a 4-port
Oh, I see,
switch.
a
built
4-point
into it.
switch. Okay, so
Yeah.
this only does one printer, but it's a switch, not a hub.
Yeah.
So this would put these two together, and you'd end up with 8 computers and they all
that's
share
right. That's
a
right.
single printer.
Yeah, there are actually print servers which have more printer connections on them.
Okay, but this for this kind of price, you're not going. All right, so we've done the wired world. Let's talk a little bit about the wireless world.
Okay.
And start, I guess, with this device, which is in fact the same thing, correct?
Yes, except it's wireless.
Well, it's wired and wireless, right?
Good point. Yes. Yeah, it has a 4-port switch also built into it.
Okay, so these 4 ports back here, and this comes in here is where your router, or excuse me, your
DSL modem
or
cable
your
modem.
cable modem comes in, and then you plug your other computers into here.
Right.
Now, for this, you get, what speed do we get on the wired?
10100.
Okay, so either 10 megabits per second or
100 megabits per second.
Depending on the card, the network card you have in your computer and the configuration, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what are these little guys?
Antennas. That's for the wireless portion of this.
Okay.
This is the wireless G, as we're talking about. There are 3 different standards. The G is kind of the newest mid-range, if you will.
Okay.
When they first started out, they came with 802.11b.
It's 11 megabits per
11
second.
megabits per second, 2.4 gigahertz.
Okay.
Then they came out with 802.11a, which operated at 5 gigahertz. That was 54 megabits per second. Very expensive, though. These are now about the same price as the wireless B, but they are now 54 megabits per second.
So they're almost 5 times faster.
Yes.
But they're still in that radio range, that 2.4 gigahertz spectrum that everything in your house operates on. Your microwave oven, your portable phones, all of that sort of thing. So for some people, I know in my home, I had to go out and buy a different portable phone that was a 900 megahertz portable phone because it was interfering with my wireless routers.
Yep.
So that can happen from time to time. Okay, so now we've got this little gizmo and its thing, a little gizmo, it's a router. Come on, it's not a gizmo, it's a router. Okay, we've got this little thing plugged in and it's piping out its wireless networking thing. How does the computer pick it up? What happens to the computer? How does it get it?
Well,
you have several connections there.
Yeah, with the wireless cards. Actually, first let me show you this one. This is a PCI card that will go in a standard computer.
Okay.
And this is the receiver.
Okay, and the antenna that's on the back. Okay.
Right. So this goes in any computer that has a PCI slot. Just need about...
Plugs it right in the back, inside your computer like a regular card.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Just need a Pentium 200 or faster with Windows 98 Second Edition or newer operating system. Okay. And little setup and you're set.
About how far? Now we've talked about 300 feet in the in the wired world. How far can you go in the wireless world?
They say about 100 to 150 feet.
Okay, now that's horizontally, correct?
Yeah, yes.
Because I've had some problems. I have a house that is both horizontal and vertical, and I've had some issues with going vertical.
Mm-hmm. Well, reliably getting the full 54 megabits per second, it's about 30 feet.
Okay.
Which, is about 3 floors, 9 feet a piece.
Okay, so as you get further away or there's more things in the way, what happens is the speed degrades. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, right.
Okay, so as the speed degrades. Now this is just one way to connect. Did you bring some other ways to connect?
Yeah, well, they also have some others. This right over here is the wireless G for a laptop.
Okay.
Okay, this is a PCMCIA card.
And that's just one of those little cards that everybody's familiar with. It just plugs into a laptop.
Yep.
And it has the antenna instead of like this, one of these, it has this sort of duck paddle.
Yeah, this hangs out the side of the laptop, and that's your antenna right over here.
Okay, and it has the same characteristics in terms of speed and distance and all that kind of stuff that the others do?
Certainly does.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Now, if you don't have a laptop.
Okay, if you don't have a laptop, or if you do have a laptop, but your PCMCIA slot is used up.
Sure, and you don't have a PCI slot in your laptop. Right. There's another way. This is a USB wireless card.
And that's about the size of a cigarette pack.
Yeah.
And it connects. Now, is that USB 1, 1.1, or 2?
This is USB 2.0.
Okay.
Okay. So with the previous version of USB 1.1, you weren't able to get 54 megabits per second.
Okay.
You would have to have USB 2.0 in order to use this product right here.
So you really need a little bit of a newer computer, about a year and a half old. That's USB 2's been out about that long?
Yeah, I'd say that's right, yeah.
Okay, so if your computer's 4 or 5 years old, you may not be able to go to the 54 megabits per second. So that brings up the question, if we're using the newer router to take advantage, can we take one of the old cards? We've got an older computer that maybe doesn't have USB 2. Can we use the old 802.11b
Yeah.
to connect to our wireless 802.11g?
Yeah, fortunately they thought of that when they were making the G standard.
Okay.
It's completely interoperable with the 802.11b. The B
Fabulous,
standard.
because so many times when you buy some new piece of computer equipment, it's not backwards compatible.
Yeah.
So if you're using the 802.11b, the only thing you're going to get is the slower connection, the 11 megabit per second,
Right.
as opposed to the 54.
Exactly.
And that also degrades at distance, does it not?
Yes.
Okay, I've noticed that a little bit too. So what else have you got for us here in the wireless world?
Well, we have a wireless print server.
Ooh,
Okay.
okay.
So now, instead of trying to put that wired print server someplace and physically attach a cable, it might not be pretty, it might be running down your stairs or something. Now you can just put this in a common location without that wire.
Okay, so we can literally have everything wireless, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so some of it wired. If you're right close by, you get the 100 megabit per second, the advantage of wireless. If you're not too far away, if you've got a laptop, if you've got something with a USB port, if you've got a spare slot in your computer, you've got some way to connect wirelessly as
they
well.
have a solution for you.
Okay, great. And this is
somewhere.
all from Linksys. Are there other brands that?
Yes. Yeah, there's also brands such as D-Link, Netgear,
Okay.
SMC, and 3Com.
Okay, and you
The thing about
Sure.
the 2.4 is that microwaves and some cordless phones, I don't know if I already talked about this, do operate at the same frequency and can actually interfere temporarily.
Right, we
with your-
talked about
with your
that. And
wireless
that's why I had to
network.
get the 900 megahertz wireless phone.
Yeah.
I had to go buy a different wireless phone because it was interfering with mine.
Now they still have the A version available, which runs at 5 gigahertz.
Okay.
And if the cordless phone or microwaves are on all the time, if you have a family of 7 or something, then that 5 gigahertz is also available.
Okay, great. And those you also have over at the
Yeah,
computer place, and
yeah.
you could help them out with that. Well, that's great, Matt. Let's see, what are we going to talk about next? Well, I guess we've talked about everything there is in the wireless world, have we not?
I believe so, yes.
Excellent.
Print
Okay.
servers.
Well, thanks, Matt. If our viewers have questions, where can they get in touch with you?
Our website at www.tcponline.com.
Okay. Don't forget that there's more information on these and other topics at the CPCUG website at www.cpcug.org. And you can also email your questions to me, president@cpcug.org. So that's it for this edition of Observing Technology.